Hello to anyone that is listening. This will be going on YouTube and Spotify, etc. So this one is slightly different from the normal videos, live chats that I do. Welcome to those that's just joining. So normally, as you know or may know, I talk about all sorts of things from spirits, Bigfoots, aliens, and the Anunnaki. So you may be aware now that Altura said aloha. Hello there, how you doing? You may be aware that I'm planning to shoot a movie about the Anunnaki, and as you can probably see the website address at the top there. Now with this movie, we need actors and actresses, etc. So I've done a sort of a concept trailer that you may or may not have already watched. If you haven't, it's on my TikTok pinned, or you can just go to AnunnakiFilm.com. So really what this live chat's about is just mentioning that the way you, if you know anything about the Anunnaki, you kind of realise that mainstream do not really want us to know about the Anunnaki. Now, there was a previous film that was supposedly started, but the information that I saw... Sorry, my boy's coming just as I started this live chat. Stop it. No, you had milkshake. Enough, sorry. So yeah, there was a film that was listed, I think from about at least 10 to 15 years ago, and it never saw the light of day. And of course the rumours were that it was stopped, etc., etc. But personally, looking at all the details about that movie, I think it didn't get made because of funding issues, to be fair with you, not because it was blocked. Because the way something would be blocked is either the funding would be withheld, so that they didn't sort of kill off the film directors or anything like that, and the cast and crew. So what they would have done is put pressure on the film financiers, whoever they were, or they would have told the distributors, don't distribute this movie. But looking at everything, in other words, looking at the people that was behind the actual project itself, they don't look like they'd done a film previously, which makes me think that it was a new setup. Sorry, my boy's really annoying me. Stop. Sorry. AY Musters wrote, "You're making a film?" Yes, there's a trailer actually online already, or you can go to Anunnaki Film. Arcturians wrote, Anunnaki are Elohim, please can you tell me? Yes, they are. That's not me just saying, it's also Zachariah Sitchin also says the same thing. So going back to the other people's film, they, to be fair, they didn't have sort of any track record, so the chances of them getting a funding would be very difficult for them to do. And then getting a funding to do a movie on such a huge topic, such as the Anunnaki, would have been really difficult for them to have achieved back then. Now, I've done various films of different size budgets, so I kind of know how difficult it is to get funding. So this is why I thought, do I go down the normal road of trying to get funding, like I would normally do for a normal movie, or do we try and do a Kickstarter campaign where we have a lot more control on? So that's where we sort of ended up with the Kickstarter campaign, because obviously by then we are not at the mercy of a film distributor. And the problem with financiers and film distributors is obviously, if they're controlling the money, then they control what goes in your film. It's as simple as that. If they even big blockbusters still have the director still gets told, no, don't want that. And this, unfortunately, this is done by people in suits are telling the creative people what you must know this. You've probably heard it 1,000 times on different
WhatsApp.
movies.
Someone has sent you a WhatsApp.
So sorry, people keep messaging me. So sorry, I'm just going through the messages now. So yeah, so the idea was that if we shot the movie using you guys as, you know, obviously people that can act, camera crews, etc., then we bypass the need for film financiers who will be men in suits that will say, Anna not, Anna what, Anunnaki, never heard of them. And obviously you guys hopefully have heard of the Anunnaki, and if you've watched the trailer, you see that there's an amazing story that we can shoot in a relatively cheap fashion. And the reason why it's cheap is not because it's going to be crap. It's going to be cheap because when the Anunnaki came here, there was nothing here. No, so we don't need mansions. We don't need Rolls Royces. We don't need aeroplanes. We don't need sets as such, in the way that another film would do. We don't need to hire a street, block it off. We don't need all these kind of things that you would normally have for another movie. We don't need, because the story is playing out with the characters, the Anunnaki that come here to Earth for the first time, with no other sentient beings here. And yes, I am going along the lines that the dinosaurs didn't all die out. I'm going to be making sure that my version of that, which is not just my version, obviously we've got dinosaurs and humans footprints, we've got the Acambro figurines, we've got various bits of proof that says dinosaurs. Even the Bible talks about behemoth, etc. So we've got proof that dinosaurs did coexist up until at least 2,000 years ago, because obviously it was in the Bible. So so in the film, there will be, it's not just going to be boring because there's no car chases, because there's no cars. It's going to have, literally, it's going to draw your attention in. Some of the films that I've done before are what I call cliffhanger films, where literally every 5 minutes you're wanting to know what's happening next, and you're sort of hooked. And that's the way this film will be shot. So obviously, if you know the story of the Anunnaki, then you'll be prepared for it. But as a general rule, you'll be like, "Wow, this is great." Hopefully, you've watched the trailer already. Amos has wrote, "How can we be part of it?" So if you go to the website, which is at the top there, AnunnakiFilm.com, have a look around the website. There's bits and pieces. There's be part of it, and then that be part of it will take you to the contact us page, and in that contact us page we give a breakdown of the cast that we'll need: Enki, Enlil, Ayana, and so on and so on. If you've got acting experience, now so the truth of the matter is, obviously, because we're shooting at low budget, we obviously have to shoot it in this country. We've got locations set that would be ideal for a facsimile of the areas that where the Anunnaki originally were, weather permitting. But if you're in another country and we get the funding, then obviously we can't fly you over out of our budget that we've got on the Kickstarter. But if the budget goes higher on Kickstarter, and some Kickstarters do, they go, some of them go crazily higher. If it goes higher, then we can either go to a different location in a different country and shoot there, and obviously we could probably afford, hopefully, to get the actors in. We're looking at this point, me and the producer are looking at least one named actor in the film. They wouldn't be an Anunnaki. We do not want a named actor as an Anunnaki, and the reason for that was we need them to feel like, just like Superman, Christopher Reeve. No one knew Christopher Reeve, so he became Superman. The last thing we want to do is for an Anunnaki. I mean, I did put a video up asking who would you put as an Anunnaki. But the problem is everyone put named actors, and that's what I was interested to see, because they would then see that named actor I'm just using. I'm going to throw out some names, not that we would even consider them, but famous people such as Tom Cruise, Mel Gibson, and stuff. You'll see them as Tom Cruise and Mel Gibson. I know when I watched Maverick, I can't help but see Tom Cruise. But I want to see an Anunnaki. I don't want to see Tom Cruise. And so the main named actor will be the one that will be. When I say actor, it could be an actress. Depends on whether they agree or not. Will be the ones that are in the modern times. So the film cuts back to the Anunnaki from modern times. So in other words, we've got two main characters. There's other characters as well in modern time, but the two main characters are sort of archaeologist type people. And as they sort of find clues, it cuts back to show what they were actually talking about when they find clues. It's more exciting than it sounds. Go watch the trailer. It does. That will be how it will play out. Fakers wrote, I got banned. I can only type in lives. Can't upload messages or comments. Oh dear. I wonder why he got banned. Winnie's wrote, good evening, sir. Evening all. Hi, Winnie. Thank you for joining. Dosey's wrote, site requires password. Have you actually done AnunnakiFilm.com? Because there's other websites out there called Anunnaki.com. So you need to make sure that you put the AnunnakiFilm.com there. Alan's right. I think there was an Anunnaki move, but it was being stopped to release about 10 years ago. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. I did a hell of a lot of research on how far they got, what they was doing, where it was being shot, who was behind it, etc. And it was actually a British crew. Sorry, I've just got to take this quick call. So just hold on one sec. Sorry. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, I'm back. Toppers wrote, I can act. So if you are interested in any of the positions of the acting, then go to the website AnunnakiFilm.com. Have a look down at I've got the ages on there of what age I would require certain people to be. Obviously, there's no point in being King Anu and then, being younger than the suns on the planet, on Earth, such as Enki and Enlil. So you would need to look at the ages before you, and then when you contact us, obviously, preferably with a show reel if you've got one. If anyone wants to know how to do a show reel, not just for us but for anyone, post a message up now, because I used to edit for show reels and actually filmed people's show. I did a lot of film stuff for the last 40 odd years, so that's pretty much my day job, filming. So I can advise you on how best to do it, even if you've not got a casting agent or anything like that, or not even done anything. I can tell you how to do something now, or tomorrow, or whatever. That as a casting agent would look at, or a director would look at. I can tell you what to shoot now, and then you can do that, not just for me, but for if you want to send that off to casting agents, etc. Amos has wrote, where do I sign up? So go to AnunnakiFilm.com and have a look and see what positions you would be interested in, if at all. Missy's wrote, is this about aliens? Yes, it is. The Anunnaki were or are an alien race called the Elohim. The Anunnaki is just a team name that were given to those that came from heaven, which is space. Those that came from space to Earth. There is also parts for the Aegi, which are the younger Anunnakis. So there's some good parts in there. Nothing to viewers wrote. You have, sorry, I'm guessing that it's Yahweh maybe, and Elohim is God of Israel. Yahweh, well, according to Sitchin, I've been doing every day. I research. According to Sitchin, Yahweh is a capital G God, but that's not obviously not in the Bible. The Bible talks about the Anunnaki. And Joshua, or whatever is, however you pronounce that, is Jesus, according to Sitchin. Joe has wrote the cone-shaped stones as a mechanism to elevate large boulders is, I understand. That's what I think it is too. I think there's a frequency that comes from those stones. If you go to michaeltellinger.com, he's got one of those stones, and when you tap it, it rings like a bell for a minute. So it's quite fascinating. Curry's wrote, "What would you do if Canty was in your fridge?" I have no idea what that is. Totes has wrote, "I like it. I'm hoping that's the trailer or the idea of the film." Nolte has wrote, "Do you know Maro Bingalo, official translator for the Vatican?" No, I don't. I'm afraid, not heard of that name. Sorry. Translator for who? For the Anunnaki, you suggesting? I'd be interested to know that. JJ's wrote, "If you want to see a 14-foot red-winged angel, go to King Yara. 14-foot red-winged angel, go to King Yara in Uganda. It's amazing to meet." I'm guessing you're talking about a live creature. I've never heard of it anywhere else. V Big Guts has wrote, "I'd love to be part of it." Again, feel free to just browse the website, Ultra History, not Ultra History, that's me, AnunnakiFilm.com, and see what tickles your fancy. Obviously, we will need to see you act before getting you over, and whatever else. So that's why, if you're interested to know a bit about a showreel, just write down, let us know about a showreel, and I'll explain how best to do a showreel. Al Goz has wrote, "I am an Anunnaki 100%. I want to play a human." That's an interesting one. Elaine has wrote, "That sounds really good. Thank you, Elaine. I hope you're well." Yeah, I did so on the website there is a trailer and more information about everything to do with this. So if you're interested, Andrew's wrote, "Remember this theory or similar idea being popular in the 90s in a UK magazine called UFO Magazine?" There was also, I don't know if you're aware, but Bill Burns did a magazine called UFO Magazine. It was American, so I don't know whether that UK one is the same one you're referring to. Yazzie wrote, "Hello, evening. How are you?" I'm fine, thank you, Yazzie. Hope you're well. Al Kamba has wrote, "I'm a Syrian born in Baghdad." You must have seen a lot of history without probably even realizing it, or maybe you do. The Assyrians have got a lot to do with the Anunnaki, because the Assyrian language, the Hebrew, comes off of the Assyrian language, even though the Bible translates the Aramaic, the actual language Hebrew, from, according to Zachariah Sitchin, who I totally, every time I listen to him and then go and find someone debunking him, and then I go and do my own research, it always comes back that he was right, Sitchin. Nolte's wrote, "How can I be part of this project?" So go to AnunnakiFilm.com, have a look there. You'll find, we're also looking for film crew, DOP, composer, music. If you want to write a theme song for the film, it might be something that you want to do or have done for other films. Gavin has wrote, "This was attempted before. It was going to be a 3-part film, and there was a trailer and everything. and it got shut down. Yeah, I've already covered that at the beginning of the video or this live chat, because the story is that it got shut down, but then there's other stories, and so I dug deep, and basically I just think they didn't get the funding for it. Now I've seen other trailers out there. I've seen a winged craft. It's like a 3-minute trailer of this bloody wing that is the Anunnaki symbol, flying to basically, it was a CGI craft in the shape of a wing with the disc in the middle. However, they didn't. This is the beauty. Without sounding big-headed, this is the beauty. They didn't. The people that did that particular trailer, I think they were going to do an animated film or something. What they don't realize is that symbol, the disc with the wings, is actually the symbol for Nibiru. So it wasn't a craft. It wasn't a flying flat disc with a wing sticking out of it. It's actually their logo, shall we say, for their planet. So when we see that in carvings, etc., and this is not me saying this, is my research as well as other people that have come to the same conclusion, such as Zachariah Sitchin. So just something, side note here. So where the Anunnaki have wings on their backs on the statues, from everything that I've learned, I think, this is my take on it, I think that they've put the wings on the back, seeing as the disc with the wings is the planet, to differentiate themselves from humans, because obviously humans look like the Anunnaki. So they've added wings to say that they are the Anunnaki, because you can't get a sense of scale if you've got two Anunnaki standing next to each other in a carving. You can't say, oh, well, they're 12 to 14 foot or whatever they are, because there is no, you need to carve a little human in there to say, okay. So I think the wings, from everything that I've learned, I think the wings on them is just saying we're the Anunnaki. And no, the wings are not, they're just a symbolic thing as opposed to them actually flying around. So that's my little bit of information for the day. Yazis wrote, I'm still available for actress roles in your movies. Don't forget, slip me in for us first, remember? Yes, again, all you have to do, honestly, is I would need or we would need to see a show reel of some description, and we would need to see what, there's a list of parts. Obviously sometimes you might not get the part you want, you may be cast. I don't know if you guys know much about films or anything, but a lot of it's to do with the look. So there's thousands of actors out there, or millions of actors, but if you don't look the part for that particular part that's been written, and it's nothing personal, then you don't get cast for that part. So, Harry Potter, for example, the main actor,
WhatsApp.
he
Someone
would
has
never
sent you a
sort of play a
WhatsApp.
part of Superman, even though he's got dark hair, blue eyes. No casting agent would put him forward for Superman, and that's not because he's a bad actor or anything like that. It's just because he hasn't got the look that they're after. And the same goes for our film. Obviously, we need, not saying we need a specific look, but obviously if you're applying for Ayana, who, and forgive me for saying this, who is also more known as Ishtar, which is also known as Aphrodite, you would kind of need to be, Aphrodite being the goddess of love, the most prettiest woman in the world, you would kind of need to be fitting that description. Again, nothing personal, it's just we're going to try and go by the ancient tablets as much as we can on this movie. Phoenix was wrote, so excited, thank you very much. Al Cambers wrote, I'm a Syrian, I was born in back. Okay. Gavin's wrote, good luck if you pull it off. Thank you very much. Yeah. I mean, if it falls flat, it falls flat. Everyone carries on. No one's lost anything. If we don't get the money, the funding, but if we do, although we're putting, we're asking for X amount, I would probably have to find extra for it. So that's not the, and I've got equipment, etc. So that's why we went with that lower figure. Also, the reason why we went with that lower figure is which is only 50,000, which is nothing really. But of course, if we've already got the equipment, and if you watch my videos, I sort of say on the video that, you know, if we can get the cast and crew to do expenses only, but with back end profits, then we can obviously shoot that movie a lot cheaper than we could anywhere else. Nulty Man's wrote, how can I be part of this project? Just simply go to AnunnakiFilm.com and look at what position, you know, you might, I don't know if you want to be part of, you know, sound crew or actor or whatever, I don't know. But just go there and then have a look and then send an email with, ideally, obviously, if you've got a list of things you've done before or an IMDb or something like that. So just if you're an actor, just throwing this out there, this is where I start name dropping, not intentional, but so I've worked with the executive producer of James Bond and stuff, and when they get told about an actor in a film, the first thing they do, they don't even look at the show reel. The first thing he done was go to IMDb. And I was like, hang on a minute, why are you doing that? You know, you can't really tell anything from IMDb, but that's what he done. And so he's not, you know, I mean, he was the first assistant director on Star Wars, so he's been around. So if he looks on IMDb, then I'm not saying we need you to be on IMDb, but if you have got credits on IMDb, obviously point us to them as well. Thump has wrote preview. Yes, there's a trailer on AnunnakiFilm.com if you want to go and have a look. Lila's wrote, I got the real deal video and pic. Brilliant. If you go to the website, have a look at what part you feel you could play, obviously age range, etc., and then send us some details on the email about what you can do. That'd be great. Phoenix just wrote, Tom and Scientology stopped doing flyovers between his hidden estate and banning the centre. I get it. Fake has put it in the Q&A. I should have done a Q&A, shouldn't I? Maybe on the website. It's a good idea. Phoenix wrote, that giant white helicopter is loud. I didn't know what colour his helicopter is, but Winnie's wrote, video on our True History page, video, a little taster. Thank you, Winnie. Gavin's wrote, wow, great research, sir. Yeah, I'm constantly learning stuff. You know, I don't always get it right. But I think I've got it more right than wrong on a lot of stuff. Do you know what I was looking at today? There's a place called Morgan Library. I don't know if anyone's interested in the Anunnaki, but Morgan Library has thousands of these cylinder seals, and I don't know if you guys know what a cylinder seal is. Basically, like a candle, for example, but the highest is about 1.5 inches high, and they're meticulously carved into. And when you roll them on clay, you roll out the whole picture. So you can do many of these. So it's basically a printing thing. Anyway, they've got them. And funny enough, I was just listening to Zachariah Sitchin the other day talking about there's a particular number. And it references one of these cylinder seals that actually has so different to what you normally see on Google searches, and it actually references Nibiru and all our planets and the sun. I will do a video on it because it's, you know, literally it's the smoking gun. I mean, you've got our planets, and each one has the correct size and the correct position and everything else. Even Pluto, they've got Pluto in there. I know at one point NASA stopped Pluto from being a proper planet, and then they turned it into a dwarf planet, and then I think they've put it back now as a planet. But so yeah, there's hundreds of thousands of these, or at least thousands of these cylinder seals that no one's seen, and I will be doing some videos on those. There's some fascinating stuff that I haven't said before.
Someone has sent you a WhatsApp.
Amos says it says I need a password on the website. Is that, have you definitely typed in AnunnakiFilm.com? I will go and have a look on my website. Sorry about this, guys. I'm just going to double check. Wasn't like that last time I checked. If not, you can, if there's an issue, obviously I will try and find AnunnakiFilm.com. No, it's coming up. Seems fine to me. So yeah, just make sure you add the word film on the end, because let me try it without film and see if that's what people are doing. Anunnaki.com, in case they get involved. You're probably going to, and then that takes you somewhere totally different. Yeah, that's not me. Please add the word film, Anunnaki film. Oh wow, I'm looking at their videos. Oh, that's Coast to Coast. Sorry, yeah. Just scrolling down. The Nay has wrote, "What if God made the Anunnaki?" Well, the Anunnaki believe that, yes. They believe in what they call the creator of everything. Organic has wrote, "Is this a new movie?" Yes, it is. It's one that we're in pre-production of. So feel free to have a look at Anunnaki Film. Make sure you put the word film in there. Otherwise, this other website is suddenly going to get loads of people confused to hell. Gavin's wrote, "This story does need to be told. If you pull this off, I hope it will be amazing." Yeah, so if you watch the video that I've done on AnunnakiFilm.com, I explain after the trailer that this series of 4 films lends itself to spin-offs. I mean, as you know, there's so much material out there. We can do Gilgamesh, we can do Enkidu, we can do Tablets of Thoth. We can just go basically off of hundreds of thousands of years of history. The main movie is literally just, or the main 4 movies is literally just sort of the, shall we say, the overview of everything that happens, but obviously we don't go into details like we would with Gilgamesh or ancient Egypt and things like that, which we can in spin-off miniseries or other movies. So that's the sort of angle we're aiming at with these, because it's an untapped story basically, and it's a great story. Phoenix has wrote, "Nada acting." Guessing that's no, means no for acting. Al Kamba has wrote Sumerians. Yes. So the Sumerians were the humans that were in Sumeria. The Anunnaki were the Anunnaki in Sumeria or Mesopotamia that taught. So the Sumer or Sumerians were the first to be taught out of the 4 lands that they drew straws on, type thing, which even the ancient Greeks do, retell that story, but they retell it slightly different. Bearing in mind, these are people that's trying to tell a story that happened some 10,000 years before. Well, to be fair, probably 8,000 years before, but still, it's a hell of a long time for the Egyptians to try and remember everything or get the story right in their own language. Phoenix wrote, "I am a total divine mother, a Shira." Okay. So if you're interested, honestly, just send us a show reel. Like I say, if you don't know how to do a show reel, let me know and I'll explain. K K1 has wrote, they were giants. They created the Sumerians for slavery. They created civilization. They were giants to us. I mean, 8 to 12 foot is huge. They weren't the Nephilim type giants, which were the offspring off of the Anunnaki and humans. They got even bigger than the Anunnaki did. But yes, they created. When you say they created Sumerians for slavery, we have to be as honest as we can to the actual tablets. And the tablets said that they created man, or was going to create, Adamu, or as we know, the first Adam, not Adapa, but the first one over in South Africa, as a co-worker. So we have to go along with that. I know even I, my videos say we was created as a slave race for them. So, but the tablets actually say that we was created as Now you could argue, well, hang on a minute, what's the difference if they've created us to work in the mines? Even with them, we're still a slave race because we don't have free will. But then you could argue, well, what about a dog that we breed to be a hunting dog, or a certain type of dog? They're sheepdogs or whatever. They're slaves to us. They have a great life, hopefully, but they're still slaves to us because we bred them to do a certain job. So are we? How bad are we? If the Anunnaki done the same thing, we can't moan at them because we do the same thing. So, so I think we have to go along with the co-workers side as opposed to slaves if we go by the tablets. Organics wrote, do you think Barbara McCann, I'm terrible at pronunciations, information was correct? I don't know who that is. Yeah, I don't recall. If you can let me know roughly what they were talking about, then I'll tell you my thoughts on it. Winnie's wrote, I'll be a grey. Oh, Winnie. Winnie could be Ayana. Stephen Gilmore's wrote, just post a video if you care that much about disclosure, just another parasite. I have posted the video. It's on my TikTok page, it's on Facebook, it's on the website, it's out there now, but it's only a trailer at the moment, obviously, because we're talking about getting it made. Gavin's wrote the 12th Planet made Mad Book. That's you're referring to Zachariah Sitchin's first book, which was the 12th Planet. Ultra Mag has wrote, how do we be a part of it? Go to Anunnaki Film. Make sure you add the word film.com. And then it says there's a big thing that says be part of it. So hopefully you can't miss that. And then either read or watch the video, and it explains a lot more. Plagiarist has wrote Zachariah. I'm guessing you're referring to Zachariah Sitchin as opposed to Zachariah in the Bible, maybe. Sass has wrote, I don't believe they created mankind purely for slavery. The tablets sort of say the only reason why they created us was for to be co-workers for the purpose of mining gold for them. That's written over many tablets, so that's kind of, we have to go with that as correct. But I'll give you a tiny little bit of information here, even though Steve has called me a numpty. Thanks, Steve. I'm guessing that's you're calling me a numpty. I'm going to block only because I'm the one that calls people numpties. Block. Yeah, so I was just going to give you a tiny bit of information here that you've probably never heard anywhere else. This is brand new information. I haven't done a video on it, but I'm going to let you guys in on it. So those cylinder seals I was just talking about earlier, that's in the library of, I can't remember the bloody name now. I said it earlier. Morgan Library. Now, it's nothing to do with JP Morgan. It's different, as far as I'm aware. It's a different library. Anyway, they've got cylinder seals. That's a Sumerian cylinder seal. Shh, don't tell anyone. So let's roll to Greece for a second. We've got Cyclops. We've got half this, half that. Many, Gorgonites and all these kind of things. Now, go back to Sumerian. Go back to these cylinder seals. Wait for it. And these not only predate Greece by thousands of years, they actually have this a carving of a Cyclops. How cool is that? And also, wait for it, they have carvings of half this and half that, different creatures mixed. Now, if you go back to the tablets where Enki says that the Adamu, humans, are his favourite creation, then, it starts to put it all together that those, it wasn't just in Greece that the stories are about. It's also in Mesopotamia or Samaria or around the Middle East. So that's, you can't say it's a lie if you could say, well, it's a figment of their imagination that they carved a Cyclops and they carved half this and half that. But you've also got the tablet that says Enki uses, loads of tablets that says Enki created many different creatures using the ME, which is sort of DNA. So yes, so you heard that here first, and you can actually check that out. I will do a video showing the actual cylinder seal. So again, Gavin's right. I love it, mate. You really have done some great research on this project. Thank you. Yeah, I figured who else better to do an actual movie other than, obviously a film director would help. So tick one box, and who knows hopefully enough about the Anunnaki, tick a second box. So I thought, well, it makes sense. Instead of me, I was offered other filming jobs, directing jobs, etc. And I've turned them down. And then I thought, well, this has got to be done, and because it's you need people like Peter Jackson, for example, when he did Lord of the Rings, he was emphatic about it. He was absolutely immersed in Lord of the Rings, and I think it shows on the films. And the same goes for, hopefully, for me and this particular subject. Phoenix wrote, "Infinite Gods, one source code." You could be right. Big Chi has wrote, I'm guessing that's. Where's production office? Greater London. So at the moment, me and the producer, etc., are working from our own homes. But if we get this up and running, then the production office will be in Greater London. But I'm not obviously going to give the location of it because then we'll have people knocking on our door saying, "Can we be in your film?" But it's not going to be Pinewood. I used to be in Pinewood. Because there's no point in doing it in Pinewood, because the locations for the areas that we need are way further out. Not in Buckinghamshire, for example. We need obviously open land. The last thing we need is planes flying over. So the locations are not near any studios. Lewis is right. Hello, everyone. What's the physical difference between the Oigi and the Anunnaki? The only reference I can see is they're called the Sons of God, which are the ones that obviously came down and bred with the human women, which says it all in the tablets, as you know. And the only other difference is, so in other words, they're younger Anunnaki. And the other difference is the oldest known images of the Oigi, they don't have beards, which again makes you think that they are younger. Now, bearing in mind, again, I was just listening to Zachariah Sitchin the other day. Now, I'd heard before that I can't remember who it was, what race it was, whether it was the Native Indians or Hopis or whatever. But they said about a planet of a million years. Anyway, I was just listening to Zachariah Sitchin again, bearing in mind I've already listened to him as much as I possibly can, but sometimes I forget things, and I re-listened to every talk that he does. And again, he mentioned the planet of a million years, which solidifies my memory of someone else saying it a while back. I know it wasn't Sitchin, it was someone else to do with a race of people that would call the planet Nibiru the planet of a million years. So when you've got a million years of our time, they could probably not have a beard. A teenager, younger person, might not have a beard for, 100,000 years of our time. So that's why, we would see them without a beard, because you could argue, well, hang on a minute, if they came here 450,000 years ago using logic, and then around 420,000 years ago, they decided that because they were trying to siphon gold out of the ocean, on the edge of the ocean, by the Euphrates, that they ended up creating. Long story. But you could argue, well, hang on a minute, if they were here for 10,000 years, then they would have probably grown a beard. But obviously, when you realise their planet is classed as the planet of a million years, then 10,000 years, they probably wouldn't have grown a beard. So therefore, in the period right up to when they started to be carved, they probably still didn't have a beard, which is why, in my opinion, the beards are a status symbol for them as well. Nolte's wrote, Maru Bingalow, Vatican translator, Bible, Anunnaki. I've not come across that person. I'll be honest. Hands up. I'd probably be worried that they're not giving the right information out. And I say that because, oh God, this is where I get banned. You do right. Okay, I'll throw this out there. I'm just going to say one thing because I don't want to get banned. One of the oldest telescopes that we've got, massive telescopes that point up to the space, not heaven, space as we know it, is owned by the Vatican. And I'll just leave that there. Nolte's wrote, crazy connections between the Bible books, Hebrew, Anunnaki. He proof all that with translations. Oh, if he's on the same page as us, me and Zachariah Sitchin, I hate to put myself in the same category as him because he's I think he was a genius. Absolute genius. But if they're on the same side, then that's cool. Winnie's wrote, note to notement, some of the translations and some transliteration. Yeah, I read that right. Nolte's wrote, I'm sending an email in a few minutes. I'll post for post-production in general. Cool. Excellent. Thank you very much. That look forward to receiving that. It's always good, it's always good to be on a film set. Well, I mean, that's what I've been doing since I was very young. Just scrolling down. Kim Coven has wrote part Lyman. I'm not sure what that is. Sorry. I don't know whether that's asking for a part as a Lyman, or whether that's something else. Sorry. Big C has wrote, no location manager. Have you made a feature? Here we go. This is where we try and get someone. Okay, so we haven't actually got the budget yet. I'll try and reiterate it. It's like that. So at the moment, it's me and a handful of people that I've worked with before on other movies. Okay, so when you break down that we're asking for £50,000, if you think we're going to spend money on a location manager, then out of the £50,000, then you have no idea about movies. You obviously don't. If you obviously are understanding that I'm talking about £50,000 when we're asking the cast and crew to go on expenses only, you want to then throw in a location manager. Bearing in mind, when you come, okay, let me explain this again in logical terms so you understand. If you've watched the video, you'll understand, but maybe you haven't. I explain on the video that the majority of the film is shot where there's no people, no houses, no cars, no planes. So you can probably guess where we're going to end up shooting it. So do we really need a location manager to go and say, hey, for example, I'm just throwing this out, I'm not saying we're filming there, but for example, the Peak District or the Isle of Skye or whatever it is, I'm just not going to, because I know people go, you said it was Isle of Skye, you said you're shooting. No, I'm just saying, do we really need a location manager when we can just pick up the phone and say, can we have a permit to film there? But obviously you don't know how films work if you think we're going to spend money on a location manager. Oh dear. Justin has wrote, what you say of the giant redheads across ancient Earth, dead or still alive underground. Obviously you're referring to the ancient stories of the giant redheads, plus obviously the more modern Kandahar story. If they're underground, and going by the Kandahar story, that came as a surprise to the military that bumped into this giant. Then, I mean, this is going back some over 10 years ago. This, I know, recently the story came out, so people start saying, "Oh, it's recent," but no, it's actually an old story, but only recently told. If that's the if that's a genuine story, then you can guarantee the military will be hunting every single cave, because the story goes that they took the body of that giant that they killed in Afghanistan in a cave, and they were going to try and take the DNA off of it to create super soldiers, in other words, giant super soldiers. So, if there is still giants, you can pretty much guarantee the American military will be hunting every single cave to try and find them. Kelly's wrote, what about the 4th, 11th, 40 plus Welsh girl? By all. Now yeah. So going back to the actual acting part, obviously we can't have accents because you can't have by all. And I know technically everything is an accent. I know everyone's got an accent, even if I don't think I've got an accent, but to Americans, of course, I've got an accent. So we have to, with the cast, we have to try and work it so that we can get it as neutral as possible, in terms of their performance. I know it's not how they would probably want to act, but that's we have to do that because we have no idea what kind of accent the Anunnaki had, so we have to play it as neutral as possible and not bring people, not the viewer. We can't have the viewers sort of going, "Oh, that sounded a bit Scottish," sort of thing, like that type of thing. So, John has wrote to Kelly, "Sorry, no Welsh." By all. And then John's wrote, "Only joking." And then Kelly's wrote, "Yes, we need a Welsh girl." But saying that, in fairness, there are parts that are modern times. So, that's why I say to people, go to the website Anunnaki Film. Make sure you add the word film. Go to the website and have a look there, because there is modern parts. There's bad people chasing our heroes. So think of it a bit like, if anyone's remember the film National Treasure, with our friend, oh bloody hell, it's on the tip of my tongue. He was going to be in one of my other films. Nicolas Cage, that was it. Got it. Winnie's wrote, I've been looking at the wrong site. Winnie. Hopefully you found it now. Lewis wrote, doesn't worship translate into work for? Oh God, now you got me. If it does, the worship part, so by Sumerians' take, any kind of worshipping came, you're looking at 8,000 years ago. So in other words, 442,000 years, there was no worshipping going on. So yeah, Winnie's wrote to Lewis, from what language depends on the translations or transliterations. Winnie's wrote Morgan Library. Thank you, Winnie. Yes, that was it. Yeah, it's fascinating. You should look at anyone that's interested in Anunnaki cylinder seals. Now, obviously, they're not going to throw out that they even talk about Ayana on the bloody cylinder seals. So they're not going to say what They also actually admit that Ayana was Ishtar. But they don't admit that Ayana was an Anunnaki, because obviously that's literally saying they're aliens, and therefore Zachariah Sitchin's correct. Therefore, so they won't do that. But if you read between the lines of what they're saying, then there's cylinder seals there that they've got where they're wrestling lions and all sorts of it's amazing stuff that we don't see. And in fact, the cylinder seals, spoiler alert again, cylinder seals down the line, so they weren't just always done for for story purposes. They were actually also done as family seals. In fact, some people were buried with their seal with them, and some of the seals, the actual little 1.5 inch being the tallest, and these tiny things with remarkable detail in them. Some of them were made of things like lapis lazuli, and anyone that knows anything about Anunnaki know that they loved the old lapis lazuli. And turns out I did a bit more research on where they would have been getting this lapis lazuli from, and it wasn't actually in where I thought it would have been. I would have thought they would have been digging it out of Mesopotamia sort of area. Turns out it was Afghanistan. So it was a special stone that they had imported in. In other words, they'd probably got humans to dig it out for them. Winnie's wrote, do you still paint scenes, or is it all computerized? There'll be, because also in my previous life, many years ago, I used to do CGI work as well, so it will be CGI. So the ship itself, the chariot, should we call it, because that's the name that is given in ancient texts. The chariot that brings the first 50 Anunnaki here will have. It will be built. The interior will be built for the Anunnaki to be in there, because they've got we've got a long journey for them, and also it will be used for Alalula. The same craft will be used for Alalula with a green screen in front of the windows. The craft will look like Thunderbird 2, and we know that from many descriptions of the chariot, as well as, wait for it, the carvings in the above the door in Abydos, which people say no, they're not, but they are. They match all the descriptions if you do your homework, but not. No, people don't want to do homework. So yes, it's going to be, and the outside of the craft, unfortunately, will be computer generated, just because there's no point in making the outside if we can just shoot the scenes. If they're in distance or whatever, bobbing up and down on the ocean, siphoning water out. There's no point in building something like that if we need it on a waterbed. So we can just CGI that in. Gavin's right. I would be right in thinking you have a script already, or is it a work in progress, or as you go? So we've got what we call a draft, and the draft, as the Kickstarter campaign, hopefully, if it works, starts gaining momentum, then that draft will be fleshed out more and more. If the Kickstarter campaign stays at sort of a low amount and doesn't go anywhere, then no one's going to waste their time and flesh out the draft. So yes, we've got draft for 3 of the 4 films pretty much, but again, there's no point in sitting doing that. So we've got 60 days, and if after the first month nothing's happening, then chances are might not happen. Obviously, if it starts taking hold, then I will do what I normally do and just continuously work on the script until it's completely done. Winnie's wrote, I'll tell you the location for free on Kickstarter. Thank you, Winnie. Touch the Skies wrote he's right. Not sure what that was referring to, but hopefully it was something I said. Gavin's wrote, and what is the name that the telescope? Yes. I'm sure you know the name of the Vatican. They've got two telescopes, and I'll let people go Google it, but you will not believe the two names that they have for their telescopes. It just defies belief. Kelly's wrote North Wales. I'm guessing that's you're referring to locations. Obviously, I don't want to give out the locations because obviously, you know, when you were, even on low budget films, when you work on, I mean, I've done different budget films and stuff, and unfortunately, you get people, you know, wanting to come along and they cause problems and stuff. So it's better just to get the film done and dusted. And Winnie's wrote, in the presentation, one must speak eloquently. Yeah, so just for those of interested, if you are interested in the part as an Anunnaki, the first 5 to 10 minutes of the film, when I say the first 5 to 10 minutes of the Anunnaki scenes, which will be to do with Alalula and King Anu on Nibiru. Don't worry, we're not going there. We'll have to shoot that green screen. So the first 5 to 10 minutes of them talking will be in there as close as we can get to sort of a language that sounds like their language. But slowly over the 5 to 10 minutes, they will drop in, if we can get the actors to do this, they'll start slowly dropping in the English words, and then eventually we end up not having subtitles anymore, and we end up with the whole film then carrying on in English. Because I thought it's important that we have, because, you know, straight away, if you suddenly see another planet and they start talking English, you just think, really? Really? So I think it's important that we show the audience that they do talk a different language, but to help us over a period of time, we end up getting acclimatized to them dropping English words in, and then eventually it's all English. Nay has wrote nice. I'm not sure again what that was referring to earlier on. Winnie's wrote use their crown jewels. Not sure what that's referring to, Winnie. But actually, they did actually have crown jewels. I don't know how much people know about the Anunnaki. They were the ones that had the crown and scepter, which is crazy to think that some countries, certainly England, still uses the crown and scepter. They gave the crown and scepter to their kings, who would be kings, not the Anunnaki kings, but the human kings or the offspring. Sometimes they were offspring off of. So, for example, interestingly, which I only found out recently, another first for you guys, Gilgamesh. You may have heard me mention, or you may have done some research and found out that he is 3 parts Anunnaki, 1 part human. And I always wondered about that. So I did some serious digging, and it turns out that Gilgamesh's mum was the Anunnaki. So normally we get, it's the other way around. Normally it's, someone asked me once on my lives, is there any record of, a tall Anunnaki woman going with a smaller human male? And I said, well, I'm sure there probably is, but I don't recall any record of it. Turns out, yes, Gilgamesh's mum was an Anunnaki, and his father was a human. How cool is that? So I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing when you've got a 8 to 12 foot Anunnaki woman as your, I don't know whether it was a one night stand or whatever, but yeah, it's quite interesting. Galvin has wrote, I do. I'm not sure what that's to do with. It sounds like you get married now. Right, well, wow, bloody hell, 9:30. Didn't time fly? Okay, so I've caught up, but if anyone's interested, go to and make sure you add the word film AnunnakiFilm.com. Have a watch of the trailer if nothing else. And hopefully you like the look of it, and hopefully you would want to see the first film. Just in case anyone's interested, the first film's called The Search for Gold, and it ends, I know I'm a spoiler for you, but it ends right at the bit when Enki, Enlil, and Ninmah are all in Enlil's, shall we say, chambers, and Enlil is saying, "No, you're not having them in our image," and then Enki's saying, but it's the only way we can get workers to help, mine for gold, because obviously the other Anunnaki, which is in the tablet, the Atrahasis, literally say that they revolted and said they're not going to dig anymore. So that's pretty much where it ends, right up to the point of, and then the next film will start with, and the next film's called I can never remember the bloody names of them. Go look at the website. It'll tell you I can tell you the bloody names on the website right now. So the second film is called, I thought it was The Emissary, and the third film, you can probably guess where The Emissary comes into it. And the third film is called The Power Shift. Obviously, you can probably guess that's to do with the Marduk scenario now. And the fourth film is called Annihilation of Lands. And if you, hopefully you know about the Anunnaki and their weapons of terror, you can guess that film's going to have that scenarios in there, which ends up, to about 3,000 years. So the end of the last film, I shouldn't really present 10 years. The end of the last film is basically them dropping those bombs, having the radiation coming back towards their own locations where they were, and bugging out and going off to Greece, and then it ends there, which is why I say there could be many follow-ups and spin-off series of this. When he's wrote a one night stand with a giant. Yeah, Ayana supposedly killed people, didn't she? According to the tablets, that she would. This was after Dumuzi, the beloved Dumuzi. She ended up setting up brothels. You go, girl. She and basically humans on their wedding night would be lured back by Ayana to her bedroom, and in the morning, after having a night of they were dead. So she suffocated them. Like, I'd hate to think what went on. Oh God. Yeah. So except for one survived, which a long story, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know whether being with a giant's a good idea or not. When he's found my bar, madam. How much? Come on. I'll dig down the back of the sofa, see if I can find some spare change for your new enterprise that you're starting up. Salvatore has joined. Hi, Salvatore. Hopefully you've watched the video now, Salvatore. So again, just before I shoot, seeing as no one actually asked about, but I'll throw it out there because I'm going to be putting this on TikTok, on YouTube and stuff like that for people to go. If anyone's interested in acting and they haven't got a show reel but think they can act, what to do is, obviously, if you've got a partner or someone that can help you do the camera work, you can use your phone. Trust me, directors and everything are not interested in what lenses was used on when you was being filmed, or what background or anything like that. They're really not. You can, there's many cases of professional actors, big named stars, literally just filming themselves in a room. But yeah, that's all you need to do. But you do need different, I don't know what the word is, different emotions. That's it. So ideally, obviously, if you've got an extra pair of hands, 2 extra pairs of hands, then have someone stand there as if you're talking to them. find some scripts from anywhere. You can even copy, scripts off of bloody Godfather or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then obviously say the lines. So ideally you need 5. They don't have to be long. 30 seconds on each. I mean, even 20 seconds on each. Maybe 30 seconds on each of your emotions. So you could do one happy, you've just won the lottery. One sad, you've just found out someone that you love is, cheating on you or whatever. And one neutral, just as if you're chatting to someone. So you get the idea. So you need 5 different emotions. Film yourself. Doesn't matter. The editing, the camera work does not matter. Obviously, if you're not in shot, that's a bad thing. Lighting is important because obviously we want to see you. If you're half covered in dark shade for whatever reason, then that's not a good look. Ideally, for those 5 different things, try and do in different locations, e.g. different lighting. Maybe one you're sitting down, one you're, pacing around, one you're, kicking a cupboard, or whatever it is you want to do as an actor. And then film those. Ideally, try and put them all onto one file instead of 5 different files. No director will want to go through, or casting agent will want to go through 5 different videos just to watch. So you always put them on the same thing. Ideally, and people don't do this, ideally put your name, your contact number, because what happens is with casting agents, they will send your details to someone else. And if that file or email gets lost, but your video is still there, then they have your direct contact details. So, obviously with actors, sometimes they put their, their own managers and things like that, details. But obviously if you don't have a manager and you're just a normal person that wants to act, then put your own details down, your email address or phone number. Then send that in. Again, you don't have to do it just for this film. You can do it for, send it off to casting agents. Now, also, how, I don't know if anyone's interested, but how you get, I don't know if anyone's an actor here, but there's companies out there that will take these portfolio pictures of you. So a casting agent will say, "Oh, can you send us your portfolio?" You do not need. I know actors. It's made me cry when I've heard how much they've paid for these portfolios. You don't need that. You do not need the most glossiest pictures known to man or woman or gender fluid people or whatever. You just need good quality photos you can take with a good quality phone. Obviously, blur the background on your phone if you can, just to give it that professional look. Ideally, on one of the photos, obviously you need a profile picture and a side picture and stuff to do your homework on what kind of angles you need. But ideally, try and get a light source behind your head to give it that, not silhouette effect, but the light coming through your hair, especially if you've got, as long as you're not bald. To do your homework basically on what looks good, and that's all the casting agent's interested in. They're not interested in how much you paid. I mean, I've heard thousands of pounds people have paid these, because they say, "Oh, you're guaranteed," because obviously new actors don't know anything, and they go along to these places and get these profile pictures. And I've worked with casting agents, and then I asked them. I said, "How much do you go by? How good the quality of the pictures is?" And they said, "Well, as long as we can see the person, it doesn't matter." So please don't go and spend a fortune if you are a wannabe actor, and you've never done that before. Nays wrote, "I would love to be in this movie." Please have a look. Obviously, depending on the budget, what we get, I'm being honest, because obviously we're asking a small amount. Obviously, I'll be putting in my own bits and pieces and whatnot, and probably the producer will and whatnot. But what we can't do is pay for someone's airfare, pay for someone to stay up in a hotel. In other words, coming from another country to be in the film. Out of the small budget that we've got, obviously, if we had a bigger budget, not a problem. Obviously, if we get more money, then we can go to a different location, and if the actor's right, then we can probably get that actor on board. Now, obviously, we schedule the shooting dates around the actors because obviously, normally we would, the actors would be free to work our dates, but obviously on a low budget film, we have to kind of work around the actors because obviously some of them might be working, have full-time jobs, or can only come over to the UK or whatever country we're shooting in, for maybe 1 week. So then we obviously schedule their scenes in that week. And don't worry if you've not acted before. Obviously, if you do your show reel and it looks like you can act, don't worry about hitting your marks and all these kind of things. We will have people there that will be telling you in advance, when you're doing rehearsals and stuff like that. Look, this is where you'll be standing. This is how you walk. This is, where, for example, never turn your back to the camera. Always turn facing the camera. Things like that. We'll teach you that all on the first day. So don't worry, you're in safe hands. But no. So yeah, but the most important thing on any of my film sets is fun. We have to have fun because it comes, if it's not fun, then it's not worth doing. So we will have fun doing it. So don't you stress if you want to come along. Can I join the live? Bob has asked. I only let people join a live. I know it sounds bad, but that I kind of already chatted to prior. Because if it's to do with Anunnaki and all this kind of history stuff, then I'd like to know your background because you may not, I don't know, but I'm just saying that you may not know anything about Anunnaki and just sort of keep asking me questions. So what's an Anunnaki? Why are they? And that will be quite boring for the listeners, or you may know loads of stuff. But obviously this particular live is talking about the movie. So if you do want to chat to me, hit me up, follow me and or go to the website. Preferably the website outtruehistory.co.uk, and then just contact me that way if you want. Or just send a message on any of my posts and just say, hi, I was asked, can I join you live? And then I'll follow you back and we can chat privately. And then, if you want to still talk to me live, because I have no idea what you want to chat about. Red says, right, evening all. Is there a time frame to submit casting videos? It's a good question. Now, the truth of the matter is, if we don't get the funding on the Kickstarter, then we're probably not going to make it. I'm not going to, fund the whole thing myself. And neither would the producer, and so on and so on. So if we don't get the money on the Kickstarter, so you've got 60 days, basically. And in that 60 days, as we watch, hopefully the Kickstarter campaign, fingers crossed, starts going up, then we will be, during that period, we'll be looking through the casting applications and narrowing it down to, and I hate turning people down. It kills me. I'm not that type of person. I've said before, I've had people literally beg in front of me saying, please, please, where, like, so for example, we was doing a casting in Pinewood, not dropping names, I'm just telling you where it was. We was doing Pinewood, and this was a film that had an ensemble cast of 12 main leads, and so we had everyone in on that day because we needed to see them working with other actors, so not just them acting, but we gave them lines to work with different people, and then we paired them up after lunch, and so it was actually a long casting process. And then we paired the people that was good together, that we thought would work well together, and so on and so on. And then at the end of the day, we unfortunately, so we was in there in Pinewood's cinema, where they had loads of chairs. So everyone, all the actors were sitting in the chairs, coming down, reading for us and whatnot at the front. And then at the end of the day, we called out all the people that we would actually like to, pursue. And then one of these women that wasn't picked after everyone else had left. Oh, please, please, please! I beg you, I beg you! Oh God, no! So I hate letting people down, but do remember there is 4 films. So just because you may not be picked for this first film, there will be 4 films. If the first one's a success, and there could be a lot of spin-offs, so Gilgamesh and Tablets of Thoth and Grease Times and all this kind of stuff. So don't just because you may not be picked for a particular role in this first movie doesn't mean we wouldn't look at you first for the next movie and so on. So don't be discouraged. So 60 days is basically the time frame. Red just wrote, how big a cast do you need? So the way the first film is played out, we've got Alalula, then we've got the 50 Anunnaki. Now, the 50 Anunnaki are the first ones that come down after Alalula's been here for 3,600 years, believe it or not, on his own. So the 50 comes down. So for only one day of the shoot, we're going to have all 51 actors on location at that one point. Then throughout the shoot, we will get the different actors back to be doing their scenes periodically. So in other words, where the actors, where the in the film where the 50 would be is they'd be scattered all around doing whatever it is they're doing, and then occasionally so basically 50 to start with. Now, eventually it gets to a point where there is 900 Anunnaki, 300 Mesopotamia, 300 in Abzu, and 300 on Mars. Obviously, we're not going to have 900. There's no point in having 900 actors, so we will just get, obviously the dialogue will say, "Oh, the others have come. Yay!" Where's that effect? Don't worry, that's not the script. And then obviously we'll have key actors from those different parts in the film. So going back to your question, how big a cast you need? So, and then there's also the people that are in modern times. So you've got what I call the 2 main leads, modern time. Then you've got a series of bad people trying to get our 2 main good guys. As a general rough estimate off the top of my head, we would probably need in total probably about 65 actors throughout the whole shoot. Not 65 all in one go, but 65 over the whole shoot, if that makes sense. Not all of them will be talking, so unfortunately, some of those Anunnaki in the background will just be extras. So if you want to be an extra, then you're more than welcome to be an extra. Muffin Man has joined and said, "Hey, evening all, hey, evening Muffin Man." I find Nick has wrote, "Evening all, hi evening, hi evening, hi Nick." Babies wrote, "Let me job." I'm guessing that's let you have a job. It's JOIB, unless that's something I don't know about. Just a couple of people chatting to each other. Liam's right. I hope it happens for you, pal. Oh, thank you very much. That's very nice. Salvatore's wrote, "I would love to be part of this movie." Again, all you have to do is go to AnunnakiFilm.com, have a look what parts you feel you could fit with the age range, etc., and just send us a message, with what you've done. Ideally, a show reel. To be fair, it kind of have to have a show reel, not just profile pictures. Unfortunately, because it's a visual medium, movies, not a still image thing. Unfortunately. Red just wrote, "Mars, that's a big commute." Yeah, I knew someone was, as soon as I mentioned the Ogie on Mars, I knew someone was going to say it. The great thing with cameras is you can stick a red... Sorry, dogs in the background. There will be no dogs on Mars. You can stick a red filter on, just as NASA does, and lo and behold, you've now got Mars. I know I'm being a bit cheeky, but we've got a location actually already set for Mars, but it's a quarry, and it's near Wowes. So, yeah, so that's why we don't need a location manager for a very low budget film. I don't know what that person was talking about. Pete just wrote to Salvatore, go for it. My accent sounds like a Game of Thrones. I have no chance. We hopefully, we'll obviously send you, your parts of the script in advance. So hopefully you can work with us if you were picked, and we'll instead of coming over to us, we can talk on sort of WhatsApp or on live chat or whatever it is, the video chats, Teams or whatever people use these days. Bad Beezer has wrote, do you need both men and women for the movie? Yes, we do. I know I keep talking about the Anunnaki and making it sound like they're Mao, but no, they're not all Mao. So if you look at the website, it tells you how many females we need and what age ranges we need them in. Just scrolling down, people chatting to each other. Thick Boy Troy has wrote, miners discovered the remains in 1912. Not sure which particular remains you're referring to. I'm guessing you're referring to Anunnaki giant remains. Harpreet has wrote, hi mate, I hope you're okay. Good luck with the movie. Thank you very much. Yeah, obviously, those of you that's just joined, the reason why we've done the Kickstarter is obviously because I could go to film companies and I could go to film finance companies, which I've dealt with before. The problem is they will have, they will look at the script and they'll say, no, you can't have this. You've got to have a disabled person in there. You've got to have this. You've got to have that, which is kind of fine. I understand why film finance people want certain things in movies. Obviously, I am more than happy to put those kind of things in the movie. But when you've got 50 Anunnaki coming from another planet to work here to mine, you can't have them, and forgive me for that, but you can't have them sort of disabled, because they would have chose the best Anunnaki to come here. So from that logical point, from the viewer's point of view, you'd be thinking, I'd be thinking, why have they got that person here if they've all come all this way to save their planet? It's like Guardians of the Galaxy, saving the planet, and then they put someone that's not correct for that position. So I'm just saying that's what film financiers do, and then they go through the script and they, if they don't like it, they will say they don't like it for whatever reason, even if they don't even understand it, or they don't want bits in there and they'll take them out, etc. So that's why I thought, well, the way to get around that is probably a Kickstarter campaign, because then we can shoot what we want, we can edit how we want to edit, put the scenes in that we want in. And if at the end, we go to a festival, or Netflix want it, or whoever wants it, if they then say, okay, we really like this, but can you cut that out? Then we can say yes or no. Or we can say, well, we actually got another scene that we can put in that we chopped out and things like that. So we can, we have a better chance than getting told right from day one, do not shoot this because we don't want it in there. We have a better chance of making it the way it kind of should be done. I know it sounds bad, but I kind of want to do it as close as I can to the tablets. I know it will annoy some people, and but hopefully they don't watch the film if they don't like what we're trying to achieve, I guess. Salvatore's wrote, will you have Nephilim? We will, but they come down later on in the other movies. So basically, the first movie, Search for Gold, is right up until the Anunnaki start to think about creating humans. So obviously there's no Nephilim there because they've not bred with the Nephilim. You know, the Anunnaki is not bred with the humans because they've not even created them yet. So the first movie doesn't have Nephilim. The later movies will have our red-headed giants with 6 fingers and 2 rows of teeth. Not quite sure whether we'll show the 2 rows of teeth if we get that far down the line, but Thick Boy has wrote cannibals. I'm guessing you're referring to the giants, which were described as cannibals. Yeah, so even the Bible talks about them eating. Started off eating the normal food, and then they're eating the livestock, then eating people, then eating themselves, and eating fish. And basically, the Bible says that they ate everything they possibly could. So yes, Harpreach wrote true. I'm not sure what that was referring to. Will you have, Salvatore's wrote, the Nephilims in the movie? Will they eat humans in the movie? If we can get to the movies where they are in, e.g. not the first movie because they're not in the first movie, then yes, there would be scenes. Basically, everything that I've said, everything that Sitchin said, everything that's in the tablets will try and be put in there in a nice way. Obviously, going by the rating system, obviously, if we shoot this and it's good enough for a cinema release, although saying that these days, films can, go on streaming services just as big. But if, we have to, the plan is to shoot it, that it's shot cinema wise, basically. We always, that's got to be the top goal. And if it goes for cinema, then you require a lower rating. Obviously not a PG, but you do require a lower rating simply because you can't, you get more bums on seats is the bottom line. And also the film length makes a difference. So for example, because I used to work on film reels, long story, another life. But basically if you've got a, 3.5 hour film, then the cinemas only have, can only show that film X amount of times, depending on what time they start the day. They can only show that film, maybe 5 times in the day. Whereas if it's a 2-hour movie, they can show it 6 or 7 times. So, a lot of this depends on how we want, when we're editing it, how we feel that the film's going, whether or not to make it short, but how keep the extra footage for another release down the line, or whether or not to put it out as a longer film, but possibly sacrifice. Now, obviously, a distributor, if we got picked up by one, will obviously say, look, can we cut this? Can we cut that? So, it's better to have the extra footage than not. Harpreet has wrote, when are you hoping the film will be ready by? Mid next year, give or take. Obviously, we have to go by the budget. Obviously, the budget is a little bit higher, then it gives us that bit more breathing space to do extra things that we probably wouldn't have done on the first movie, just because of budget constraints. So that's why we can't give a deadline, because obviously the higher the budget, the more chance we've got of going to a different location, which makes it go, not drag on, but go on longer. The good thing is, because I'm also a film editor, and you're probably thinking I'm lying about all this stuff, but so I will be editing the film, considering my films, my TikToks are filmed bloody filming a screen, I know. But yeah, so the benefit of being a film editor, I've always said this from an early age. If you're a film director and a cameraman and an editor, that's why Spielberg's good, and even Peter Jackson and things like that, is because they know what shots. I've had films where I've been given films to edit that other people have shot, and I'll just use one example. There was a guy a director who shot someone putting a key in a door about 10 different times from 10 different angles. And, clearly that director had no idea of how the film should look, because you don't waste that amount of time. The film ended up being well over budget, obviously because he was really slow and didn't know what he was, in my opinion, didn't know what he was doing. So you shoot, if you're a good editor and a good director and a good cameraman, you know what you're shooting. I've worked with actors that's done a lot of other things, and they've turned around and said, this guy knows what he's doing, because I just get on with it, and I don't shoot a key going in the door 10 times knowing that 2.5 seconds of the key going and turning, I'm not going to be able to edit. No one's going to edit that scene 10. So anyway, yeah, so the good thing is that's why I know that that we can shoot this on that lower budget, because I will be doing the editing myself, so I know what I need and stuff like that. Sorry, right, okay. Salvatore, did the Anunnaki ever fight with the Nephilims with weapons or fist or wrestle? That's a really good question, as always, from Salvatore, who picks my brains to pieces. Obviously, you're number one in the class for that. I'm guessing they did. The Hebrew talks about the Nephilim and how. So there's a couple of different versions in the Hebrew, and I know this because I was listening to Zachariah Sitchin again the other day. There's a couple of different versions of why the flood happened. One is because of the Nephilim. One is because Enlil wanted the humans to die. Obviously, the tablets say differently. Well, it's partly, and Enlil did actually want the humans to die in the floods. Otherwise, he would have warned us. So technically, that version's right. So because that was also around the time that they wanted to get, if you read the old text, it sort of says, and in those days there was giants among men, which were the Nephilim, not the Anunnaki. So yes, they probably. I mean, there's no record of them physically hand to hand fighting the giants, but I know they had Ayana's spacecraft that was given to her by King Anu, had some sort of, shall we say, machine guns or laser beams or whatever it was, because the tablets talk about her going off after Marduk and killing people, and there's blood everywhere and blood in the rivers and all this kind of stuff. So the answer to your question is, I would imagine someone would have started to shoot them down, or if not, they would have tried to rally the humans to take them down, because they were eating everything out of house and home. So which does make you think, how much food were they eating if they was eating absolutely every livestock and everything else? And obviously there's stories out there of giants being 36 foot, and there's even silly stories, and I say silly, but who knows, of a mile high. I mean, there's researchers out there that concluded that certain mounds were where a giant was buried. But my opinion is, no one back then who hated giants because they were eating people, killing people and everything else, a mile high, no one's going to sit there and say, do you know what, let's bury this giant, let's all dig for the next year and cover this mile high tall giant that's now lying down. So that researcher sort of, in my opinion, should have used a little bit of logic and thought, well, hang on a minute, who's going to bury that skeleton? I wouldn't have done if this, I just left it there. But yeah, so yeah, anyway, moving on. Mary has wrote, I worked in a state for autistic men. A 21-year-old resident had double rows of teeth. I've looked into that. Yes. So I'm not saying there isn't people out there with 2 rows of teeth. I'm totally aware of that. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. Which obviously isn't a normal thing, and I get told off by my daughter talking about normal things. But anyway, the general populace, shall I say, because she tells me off for saying what's normal these days. You can have bloody gender this and gender that. She says, because I was saying, back in the day, it wasn't, normal to have, I'm on about thousands of years ago. It didn't seem to be normal to have certain things. And then my daughter will say to me, but what's normal? And so I have to now say the majority of things people don't have two rows of teeth, but people have, I don't know if you're aware, but I looked into, there's a hell of a lot of people born with six fingers. And supposedly the giants had six fingers as well. So, which is obviously, in my opinion, more modern times, is a throwback with the DNA side of things. Now, if you've listened to me before, we don't have elephant tusks growing out of us as a DNA error, but we do have gigantism, we do have two rows of teeth, and we do have six fingers. So when you start thinking maybe our junk DNA isn't junk DNA and it's actually just old DNA that we don't use anymore but can be switched on, and we know that that's a fact because scientists have actually done that with many things, including embryos of chickens turning their feathers into scales now, which clearly means the chickens previously were, if you use the analogy that the junk DNA was their previous or a previous state of whatever they were, then if they can switch on scales on them and we can switch on gigantism and six fingers, then maybe we have still got parts of those DNA. Noltes wrote, how do you fill the empty spaces in history, or do you stick with just what the research reveals? Pretty much with the research. So where there's a big gap between 100,000 years or 50,000 years or whatever, it will cut back in the film to more modern times, to our two heroes. I call them heroes. Our two main leads here in modern times doing more research, being chased, usual stuff. And then when they get to another part of their story in the film, and they're talking about what's happened in the past, then it will cut back, but now we're back another 50,000 years. So if you've ever watched the film Highlander with Christopher Lambert, how that cuts backwards and forwards. So the first time it cuts, and all praise to Russell McCarthy, the director. He actually used to do music videos before doing Highlander, but he did a fantastic job on Highlander on the cut scenes, how he cut back to the previous times. And I don't know if you guys ever watched his cut, even paid attention to it, but basically what he'd done, and I will be nicking his cut scenes. He basically, like, for example, we'd have a fish tank, and the main character in modern times looking at the fish tank, and the camera goes down in the fish tank. It goes up. So he's looking at the fish tank, and then the camera goes up, and the water level where the fish tank is now a lake in Scotland. So as the camera keeps going up, looking from the bottom of the fish tank, the camera's going up, and now you're seeing a landscape. Obviously not the top of a fish tank, but now the landscape where the water level is brilliant. So that will be how we'll be cutting backwards and forwards, I hope, as well as he done in his movie. Levin wrote, I don't want to be a drama queen, but I want 1,000 fresh flowers in my dressing room. Luckily, I don't think I've ever worked with any prima donnas. Actually, I was just suddenly thought of one, actually. Almost a prima donna. Yeah, okay, 1,000, well, I'll write that down. I'll get my assistant to sort that out for you. And then Salvatore's wrote, only red M&Ms for me. Sick in the Head has wrote, can I be part of the film? Please visit AnunnakиFilm.com. Make sure you add the word film. AnunnakиFilm.com. There's a page that says be part of it. Have a look there. See if there's anything that you can fit the role of. Thick Boy has wrote Giants, a red-haired tribe of cannibals known as the CTK. You're referring to when the native Indians had the run-ins with them and then ended up trapping them in a cave, I'm guessing, if that's the one you're referring to. And then burning the cave. In fact, they did find evidence of those giants in recent times. They found the cave. That's a story for another day. Nolte's wrote "Sick in the Head to Head" to go to the website and check out the available roles. Thank you, Nolte. You're doing my job for me now. And better said than I did. Thank you. Thick Boys wrote harassed the. I'm terrible at pronunciations. Paiute tribe with war and captured their victims to eat. Yes, they did indeed. And then Thick Boys wrote, "This is common law in Nevada." Yeah. Mozart's wrote, "We should all make a Discord." I thought you was gonna say, I thought Mozart was gonna say, "I shall do the music for the film," but no. We should make and sit and debate things. I've only just bloody put a Discord on. My daughter's uses Discord all the time. I'm still struggling with it, so maybe when I figure out actually how to use it properly, I'll tell you what I'm actually using it for, even though I don't really know what I'm doing, for the AI. I don't know if you've seen text to image AI. I think it's fascinating. Anyway, Salvatore's right, because I also do graphic work for people, Photoshop and all that kind of stuff. I know. Probably. What's the old saying? Summit, and then master of none. Jack of all trades, but master of none probably is me. Salvatore's wrote, "Are you planning to have the light energy beings in the later movies?" No. It's a good question. Excellent question. No. And the reason for that is because that I think will probably confuse people, and I think that should be left for the Egyptian times, with the Eye of Horus and the Book of the Dead and the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and so there could be all these other crossovers off of these movies, but I think this needs to sort of stick with. I'm not even. I was tempted, but I'm not even going to put the little greys in there. I think we'll just stick with the Anunnakis. Again, the Greys can come in a separate movie of how they helped the Anunnaki create weapons and stuff like that. But so it's pretty much going to be Anunnaki all the way through. Salvatore's wrote, "Will you have Enlil having those dreams about emissary?" Yes, you probably guessed it by the title of the second movie called The Emissary. Yes, definitely. He will be chatting, or the emissary will be in their movies. Yeah. Mozart has wrote, "The idea of normal is subjective, as everyone is different. Personally, I find it paradoxical." Yeah, I mean that's why my daughter tells me off, but maybe I'm old school. Peach has wrote, "You nearly popped up, then careful." That's my legs. Yeah, sorry. Just resting on a bed that needs to be made. Justin's wrote, "You didn't respond to my video about only being able to see so far." Sorry, I'm rereading it. Justin's wrote, "You didn't respond to my video about only being able to see so far." Are you referring to the flat Earth? Because my argument with that is, if you're saying where a telescope can see something like 600,000 miles or whatever it is, or million if you go by, if I remember correctly, a normal telescope, a decent normal telescope. My argument is that anywhere on the coastline, you should be able to see 4,000 miles, see this massive, on a clear day, bearing in mind Earth's flat according to flat earthers, you should, on a clear day, if we can see through the atmosphere to planets and everything else, my argument is, I know people will then say, well, atmosphere is going to get in the way. But this ice shelf is so big that you need a plane to fly over it, according to flat earthers. Otherwise, people would just find a little edge and jump off and walk on it and say, hey, we've got to the edge, there's video of it, but no one's ever done that. So according to flat earthers, I'm just going by what they say, the edge is obviously so tall that you can't cross it. You need a plane to fly over. So if you're telling me that someone can't take a telescope on a clear day and see this absolutely massive ice shelf behind anywhere, any part of the Earth, generally it's about 4,000 miles from as a rough estimate, from the edge of somewhere to the edge of the ice shelf, give or take, obviously. So, for example, New Zealand to where the ice shelf would be is 4,000 miles, and same goes for the bottom of Australia, 4,000. So, if someone there has got a telescope on a clear day, flat Earth, flat, so you can't have none of this, oh, well, it bends and therefore we can't see the ice shelf, you would, I'm sure, see this massive ice shelf that stops boats and people from climbing onto it and saying, hey, we're on the edge. So I think that's probably what you're talking about when you're saying I didn't respond to the video, being able to see so far. Hopefully you've just heard my response. Reds has wrote, apparently there'll be lots of cheap crap actors looking for work. Neighbours has just finished. Is it really? Well, I'll pass on that, thanks. To be fair, I don't even watch it. Justin's wrote, what happened to your FE video? Justin, what happened to your FE video? I don't know what FE is. Flat Earth. Oh, Flat Earth. Possibly. I've got Flat Earth videos all scattered throughout all my TikTok videos. Hopefully they haven't been pulled off. I haven't checked. Nulty Man's right. I think we all love Highlander. Yes, they're redoing it, aren't they? I think Henry Cavill's been put as the main lead. I don't know why. I wish they wouldn't do this. I mean, how many remakes are actually really any good? Footloose, anyone remember that? Anyone remember Point Break? Amazing first movie. The remake, anyone seen it? I watched about 3 minutes of it. So yeah. Anyway, enough about films. Peach has wrote, a jack of all trades but master of none is always more useful than a master of one. Interesting. I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to pretend I thought of that. No, I'm joking. Salvatore's wrote, I can't wait to see how you show the tsunami flood. Yeah, that would be obviously way down end of that. That's actually the end of the third movie. Or near the end of the third movie. So yeah, again, it would be the sad thing is, because there's no big buildings like Day After Tomorrow or Moonfall or any of these massive movies. There's no buildings. So literally, it's just going to be water covering land. There's no sort of skyscrapers that can go between. There's no boats that will be ended up, going between massive skyscrapers and stuff like that. It'll just be literally as high as the sky, it said, and obviously would be a very large tsunami. So yeah, I mean that's kind of easy to do. I mean even basic CGI software now can do water simulation very well. So and if you look at Unreal Engine 5 and their graphics, I don't know if anyone's interested in all this kind of stuff. See, jack of loads of trades. The only thing I'm not good at is making tea. but yeah, Unreal Engine 5 is something that a lot of people are now using for the amazing graphic capability. Obviously, you've got Maya and you've got Blender and you've got Studio Max and all these other. Yes, I know, I've done all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's obviously, but you know, the benefit of something like Unreal 5 is literally it's drag and drop almost, whereas you know Blender and things like that you have to sort of create it from scratch. And there's a lot of good sites out there now. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Quixels, Quixels. They do some scanning, high res. And I'm probably boring people now. They do high res scanning of various things like rocks and trees and stuff, and you can actually get them free. They're scans, so you actually then just drag and drop that straight into your landscape, for example. I mean, even a program that's free, if anyone's interested in doing any kind of CGI work, basic CGI work, you know, like landscaping or buildings and stuff like that, is Twin Motion. Twin Motion, fantastic. Drag and drop, has Quixels all in there, and you can do so much with that. So anyway, I'm boring people now. Winnie's right. I told you I was boring people. Winnie's right. Good night, sir. We'll be dreaming of being in my proper role, Anunnaki #5. Ah, Winnie, I'm sure we'll find something for you. And then Winnie's wrote, I'll be hiding in the crowd. No, you won't. Okay, well, I've caught up and my battery's dying, so that's probably a good time for me to shoot off. So if anyone's interested, go to anunnakifilm.com, have a look around, see what you think. And hopefully you're just interested in seeing the movie if we can get it done the way we want it done. So that'd be cool. Thank you for all those that gave me likes and everything. I haven't. Sometimes I just close my eyes and waffle on. I don't see, but thank you. I can see hearts flying now. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it, and I will catch up with everyone at a later date. Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye. Bye.